Hey guys, welcome back to the Alternatives Podcast. Today we have a very special topic and we have two special people to introduce you to. Before we dive into our topic, I want to introduce you to Cana Davidson. She is our COO here at Alternatives, and she has a fun announcement, but also I just want to give Cana space just to share a little bit about who she is and what she does for Alternatives. So Cana, if you want to share a little bit about that.
Thanks, Hannah. Well, it's fun to be with you guys today. As I've told Hannah before, I always like to be behind the scenes. So being in front of everybody is not my favorite thing, but I'm happy to be with everybody today. And as Hannah mentioned, I'm the COO for Alternatives, and I've been here since 2013. And so about 7 years. I can't believe it. It flies by so quickly. But it's been a great journey and I enjoy the job that I get to do. I get to oversee our financial department with accounting. I get to oversee volunteers. I get to interact with donors. Just a lot of different hats that I get to wear. So it's a lot of fun. I like doing a lot of different things. And so it makes my days very eventful, we'll put it that way. But yeah, so it's great to be able to do what I do and be a part of an organization where we have an opportunity to help people who are facing a crisis of life, but it's not just physical life, it's spiritual life. So I am thankful to be a part of that.
And we're thankful to have you here and all the experience and the knowledge that you bring. Can you tell us a little bit about why you are here?
Sure. Well, I obviously am not Tammy. Tammy is our other host normally. But as many of you may have already heard, Tammy is taking a sabbatical and we're very excited for her. Such a great opportunity to take some time off for some much needed rest and time with family. And what a great time of year to be able to do that. It's the holiday season. We're coming upon Thanksgiving and then we have Christmas and New Year's. So just a great time for her to be able to take a step away to refresh and renew and then be able to come and be back with us in January. So I will be sitting in and filling in for Tammy while she's on her sabbatical. So hopefully you guys will give me grace in that process. But we're happy for the time that she gets away. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, we're very happy for her to have that time and then also excited to have her back next year. And now just
Absolutely.
Moving on, diving into our topic, we are talking about how to keep comparison from being the thief of your joy. And I think that is so applicable as we go into the holidays. And we have another very special friend with us today. We have Juana Jackson, who is our front office coordinator. We talk about how she's like the air traffic controller of Alternatives with phone calls, with patients coming in and out. She really does a lot. So Juana, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Firstly, like Cana, I am not one who likes to be in front of the camera, but here we are. So I am happy to be here. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor, quite honestly. So I am firstly, and I'm going to be talking about this, I'm firstly the daughter of the Most High God. So who am I? You know, I think identity. I'm married to my husband, Terry. We have a stepson, Jeremiah, who's 19. I was born and raised here in Escondido, so I'm a native in Escondido. So I love being able to be in this community with a minimal commute, which is that I'm thankful for. And just being able to serve people here in the community is really a blessing. My husband and I are members of Summit Church in San Marcos, where we're involved in leadership, and my husband recently became part of the pastoral staff. We really have a passion for studying the Jewish roots of our faith. I sometimes say we're like a little bit of Bible nerds that way. We love that. We love to study it. We're really passionate about it. We love teaching and sharing about it. And I just have a really tender heart for women. I come from a huge family. I'm one of 7 kids, 6 girls, 1 boy, and I naturally love women. And that's part of what brought me here to Alternatives.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And that's so evident in the way that you interact with everyone that walks through the door or the phone or even our staff. And I'm really excited for our listeners to hear from you, because we've shared your famous phrase on here so many times, that who are you listening to? And so I'm excited for you to be speaking into this topic, partially just because of that phrase that gets thrown around our office so much. So kind of just diving into this idea of comparison, what really causes us to compare?
Well, I don't profess to be all-knowing or all-knowledge person you're going to get my take on this. So I think it's like not being satisfied, covetousness. Ken and I were just talking about the fact that I'm really intentional about not having any type of social media, which is shocking in this day and age, but I don't have like a Facebook page. I am intentional about that. I think that has kind of really fed into comparison. I think there's this belief that what's being presented is this perfect life, a perfect home, just everything all together. And that's not the reality of life. Life can be really complicated, especially in this present age. So I think that covetousness, that being dissatisfied, it's fed into. And so this is where I think we really need to be anchored in truth and know who we are, our value. Each one of us is created uniquely, and that's good. That's a good thing. And to celebrate the differences in one another is something that's really, really beautiful. I was involved in a women's Bible study not quite 2 years ago, and we really, really took hold of that. And it was probably one of the most encouraging, blessed Bible studies that I've ever been involved in, because each woman truly cared and loved for the other women, and we celebrated who each one of us uniquely has been called and created to be.
Yeah, I love that, celebrating the differences. I think we all get so like caught up in, well, this is what this person does, and so I have to be this way, or you have to do this to get this result. But recognizing that the Lord has each of us on our own individual path, and has a different thing for each of us to do, that he has planned for us, and he has designed us each specifically for that. And it's because of that we're able to celebrate these differences. So I love that. That's really good.
Yeah, it's helpful to be reminded of that, and just that that comparison really takes us down a bad path. It never does anything good for any of us when we're comparing, but seeing the beauty in the differences is really key. So that's great. Well, as we approach the holidays, it seems to be an easier time to compare to others. So what is it about the holidays that does that?
I think there's a lot of expectation that comes with the holidays. Again, I think, what we're seeing, that comparison feeds into this. We feel like everything has to be just so. I have a tendency to move towards perfectionism, and that's something I'm fighting. Things may not work out just the way I planned them to, but I'm learning to embrace and accept that more and more. So again, I think that there's this belief that everything has to be just so. That perfect meal, that perfect gift that you have to give to the other person. And I think we need to move further away from that, especially in this present age where we're learning in reality that we don't really have control over a whole lot. If we're not learning to submit, and what it truly means that we are the clay and that God is the potter and he's molding and shaping us. And I would say, perhaps in this present age, it's really an opportunity to become who God truly wants us to be, more dependent on him, less dependent upon the world's perspective and what the world is telling us and feeding into us. Fear, doubt, perfectionism, meeting a mark. I mean, if you think about what sin is, I don't know where this is coming from, but sin is not meeting the bullseye every time. That's the actual definition of it. And so how often do we meet the mark? Learning to laugh at ourselves, learning to laugh at our imperfections, having a good sense of humor about things. I always say, when I was growing up, I would often compare myself. I mean, it's just part of the insecurity of growing up, becoming ourselves. And that's going to be a constant. I think we're always going to be moving towards becoming who God's called and created us to be. But when I was growing up, I was always very aware of the fact that I was very sensitive. And now I've just learned to embrace that. I've learned to be okay with the fact that I will cry when I need to cry, or I will laugh when I need to laugh. And so I think with the holidays, it's that buildup of, perfectionism and everything needing to be just so. And I think go back to the taproot of where and how we celebrated as children. As I was preparing this, I was thinking about what Christmas was like when I was a child, and it was simple. I think about the best memories that I have as a child, and those involve being with family, being squeezed into my grandma's little house, a 2-bedroom little house. And in our family, the Christmas tradition was gathering with family. And that's going to be hard in this present age. So goodness gracious, Christmas is going to be different. We need to accept that and acknowledge that right now. But what can we do in this present age to still make it beautiful and meaningful and love each other well? But going back to that being in grandma's house, it was, the windows were literally sweating because there were so many people back in that little house. But we all sat down and we ate our tamales, which is traditional Christmas Eve meal in our culture. And we were so happy to be there together. And it was simple and beautiful. And it was all about being together with family. And I think about, the beauty of a Christmas carol, the fact that we hear Christmas carols and we hear about the birth of Jesus, like just getting down to what it's all about. It's all about Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you get the focus in the right place, it kind of can diminish that comparison, I think. But we get focused on the commercialism or the perfectionism, as you mentioned, and all of that. And then we get distracted. And we have different expectations for what's going to happen. So I think that's really key, definitely. Well, how can comparison be harmful to us?
How can it be harmful? Gosh, it can be harmful in so many ways. If you think about it, who compared himself and wanted to be like God? Satan. The fall happened with Satan. He was, wanting to be like God. And so we go back to that comparison and where the world fell. But again, it's just embracing who we are. I think that happens with age and wisdom and knowing who we are is incredibly important. I think if you've ever spoken with me or received a text message from me, you're going to get this message. Who are you? And who do you belong to? Well, who am I? I am the beloved daughter of the Most High, one true living God, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. I wrote that on my heart and I continue to share that. It's knowing who we are, that comparison. To admire someone is not bad. To respect and find beauty in another person or how their giftings and their talents is not bad in and of itself. But what can happen when it becomes perverted, that's where comparison can go wrong and lead us astray and really become harmful to ourselves and even impact our relationships. We might find ourselves being envious or bitter towards someone when that was never supposed to be the case. If we can celebrate and admire without it becoming twisted, that's, I think, a goal for each one of us. I think I can say that as I am part of the Alternatives family, as I meet with each one of you, I look at each one of you and I admire your beauty internally, externally, and the gifting and the talent that each one has. I do that in my family with my girlfriends. And I've learned through being very intentional that I can admire it without coveting it. It's the covetousness that goes astray and leads us down a wrong path that God never intended for us. The Word of God says when we enter into his throne room at the end of time, every tribe, every tongue, every nation, God created things to be varied and beautiful. He's not a God of sameness. He's a God of great creativity, and that is good. It's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think what's so key, what you keep coming back to as well, and this affects all ages. So whether we're younger or older, it's knowing who we are and being secure in that, and that will eliminate a lot of that comparison. So sometimes, you talked about maturity, and as we mature, we can, overcome some of these things more. But regardless, it really is about that perspective and being secure in who God's created us to be, which I think is great and a good reminder, especially as we enter the holiday season and the hustle and bustle and the rush and all of that, because it's really easy to get in that mode of comparison. So, well, what would you say then, Juana, to one of our listeners who's struggling with comparison this holiday season, whether it be, financial, that I don't have the resources that I've had in the past, I'm not going to be able to do what I wanted to do, or health is different. We've got, a lot of different situations and a really tough year this year. So how would you encourage someone?
Well, I would say, first of all, what's the reason for the season? I know that's a kind of a slogan, but it's true. This is a season where we celebrate Jesus and the birth of Jesus and the beauty of that. If we can go back and we can really focus on what that is about. He gave us a gift. God gave us the gift of his son, and get back to just that root, celebrating Jesus, and thinking about what that means. I was thinking about, again, another childhood memory, and I probably, I don't know. Again, I'm going to the maturity level, but forgive me for that. But anyway, and I'm talking about age in this instance. The old Charlie Brown cartoon where they're like, oh, the commercialism, and Linus is able to speak from the book of Luke and tells the Christmas story, and it comes back down to Jesus. So what would I say? I would say, take your eyes off of self, first of all. Fix your eyes on Jesus and the beauty of this season and what it's intended to be, not all of the gift giving and so on and so forth. And focus on others. There's a lot of people that need what you have. What that might be is entirely different for each one of us. An encouraging word, a card, a phone call, a Zoom meeting. Focus on others and what you can give to others, what you can do for each other. There's a lot of people that are homebound, that are hurting. We already acknowledge that Christmas is going to look different this year. It's going to be different. So embrace that now and start asking God to help you to navigate that personally, but how you can give to others and really make a difference in their life. You can gift them in a way that will bless them and be really impactful. So what can we do to be a gift and a blessing to others? The other thing is, of course, just being grounded in that truth, like you're saying, blessing others. I think I'm getting off course here. So the question was, sorry, I think I lost navigating it. The question once again was?
Oh, just what you're saying to somebody who's struggling with that comparison. Okay. And right. If you can go in your direction, that's fine. We're happy to hear what you have to say.
Okay, yeah. So I think I got off course. But anyway, okay, so that taproot that you say that I always say, it's true. I had to take that truth in. So who am I listening to? I go back to the garden. Who are you listening to? Who told you that? I always go back to that. I think I've probably told all of you that at some point in time. We have to question who is influencing us. And with that, whether you're my age or you're younger, I would encourage you to have trusted truth tellers in your life. Those friends who will really be honest and speak the truth and love to you when you are getting off course, and will speak truth in life and hope into you. But will also take you back to the garden when Eve was listening to Satan. Who told you that? Who are you listening to? I think that's incredibly important. And I think That's the gift of friendship. That's the gift of those trusted truth tellers in our life. Those people who will honestly speak truth to us. Those people who we can pick up the phone with and say, hey, or text, I'm kind of, struggling today. I need to be vulnerable and transparent before you, and I need your encouragement, and I need what you have. And I think all of us have the ability to do that. Again, don't compare how you do that. Just, be free to encourage and love as God wants us to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's key, because so often when we're in the thick of a situation or these lies that we have in our head, and you're kind of just in this cycle, it's so hard to see the clear picture, what's true, what's not true. And so having friends, trusted friends that we know will speak truth into our lives is so important, because so often we don't see it, and we need someone to remind us of this. I do have a question though. This isn't something that was on the list of questions, but what about somebody that's walking with a friend who's struggling with comparison? What are some truths that they could tell their friend and remind their friend of?
What are some truths they could tell them? Well, I'm gonna trust that they know that person well.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully their wisdom is coming from God. First, I'm gonna go backwards, because sometimes I think a good cry is just something we need. The good, we call it mocos, where you're just snot-nosed. And I can tell you so many times with my girlfriends, I'd be struggling over something and I just cry it out. And something hadn't radically changed, but just releasing our emotions is something God gave us, the gift of tears. Also, it's, I've been referred to as liquid prayer, but just being able to encourage and love and bless one another, share our emotions, is really a gift I think God gives us. I think that's harder for a man, and but as a woman, I'm coming from a female perspective. I think that there's incredible importance with just being able to give of your time, listening well to one another, listening with our hearts, and coming from the truth of who God says we are. I know this morning I was praying, and I think that God would remind us of his tenderness and his heart and his love for us. I was actually feeling his heart, and it's that heart of a father that is so tender towards us. I'm speaking to you now as women, and it was really the heart of a father towards his little girls. That never changes. His love for us is extravagant. He created us for communion with him, intimacy with him, but it's also a gift when we experience that with one another. And there are moments in time where I think it's really beautiful, and it can be impactful, and it can shift our understanding or our belief about what is truth when someone just listens well, loves well, and speaks truth, and speaks truth from the word of God as well. This is why God says, write it on our hearts, and it's there for us to draw from, whether it's for ourselves in a moment where we're feeling despair or fear, or we're listening to the voice of the accuser, or the liar, or the cheater, or the thief, to just draw deeply from that well, whether it's for ourselves or from another person, for another person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And just that clear reminder that we need to walk this life with other people, and they can help us get out of that comparison trap as well, as they point us to truth. And we all need that, because we all get to that point sometimes where we're comparing. And so it's such a great reminder, and to walk alongside someone, Hannah, like you said, to be able to step in and stand in that gap and help them through that period of time as well. It's really important.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Juana, what is a recent challenge that you've overcome or are overcoming?
Well, girls, muchachas, I'm in that right now. I call it the divine setup. As we said, Cana and I am not someone who wants to be in front of people. That's never been my desire. I was the shyest little girl. Talking about that tears. I mean, if someone had looked at me and made me feel uncomfortable, those crocodile tears would just fall. So God is really placing me in a situation after situation where he is asking me to stretch beyond what is comfortable. I call it the divine setup. It's happening a lot these days. Being asked to speak in front of audiences at my church, being asked to speak with my husband at times, sometimes just me. It's not really something I desired or am entirely comfortable with. And this is where I don't compare. I am who God made me to be. A simple prayer is, God, who have you called and created me to be? I want to be that woman. So I'm constantly of late being presented with these opportunities, and God has really challenged me just to be obedient, to do the best I can possibly do, to press into him and to say yes. I remember coming to alternatives, and one of the requests was that I would speak Spanish. And I'm like, ay caramba, I don't really speak Spanish fluently, but God immediately said, you know, you're going to do this and I'll help you through it. So that is something that I'm always remembering. I don't do anything in my wisdom or in my own strength. I do it in and through him and by his spirit. So there's lots and lots of stretching beyond my comfort zone. And this is the season that I'm in, and I have to laugh at it because it is so not what I want to do, but for some reason it's what he wants me to do. So I would encourage people, when he's asking you to step out of the boat and walk on water, as he did with Peter, do it. And the key is to fix your eyes on him and focus on him and remember he's fully trustworthy and he's your Papa God. That's how I refer to him, because I know his heart towards me and towards each one of us. He loves us. He cherishes us, and he is just so tenderhearted towards us, and he's so trustworthy and faithful. This is truth.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Juana. We appreciate just your honesty and openness, just your vulnerability. It's such a blessing. And so I know that our listeners today will be very encouraged.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Juana, how can our listeners connect with you?
You can feel free to reach out and catch me here at the clinic. I'm here Monday through Friday. It's my honor and privilege to do that. So I'm available.
What's the phone number?
The number is 760-741-9796.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. I hope this episode and everything that Juana shared is a blessing to you as you navigate the holidays. And I do hope and pray that you guys have people in your lives that will point you to truth. And if not, maybe this is an opportunity for you to evaluate kind of where you're at with your friendships and who your friends are. So yeah, we are so grateful that you guys listened today. We are on social media, so you can connect with us on Facebook. We're just Alternatives Medical Clinic. And then on Instagram, we are at Alternatives MC, and we will talk to you all soon.